What if I told you that your dog chose you, not randomly, not because they happened to be at the shelter when you walked in, not because you picked them from a litter, but because your souls agreed before either of you were born to find each other in this life, to walk together, to love each other, to teach each other what only you could teach one another? What if the bond you feel with your dog is not just biological chemistry, not just oxytocin and dopamine, but a soul connection that spans lifetimes? A sacred contract between two conscious beings who have traveled together before and will travel together again? What if when your dog dies, they don't simply cease to exist? What if their consciousness, their personality, their love for you continues? What if they're still with you, still watching over you, still trying to let you know they're okay? And what if the grief you feel when you lose a dog is not silly or excessive or something to be embarrassed about? What if it's sacred? What if it's your soul recognizing the departure of another soul that you've loved across multiple incarnations? For over 40 years, Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, conducted thousands of readings on the nature of consciousness, death, and reincarnation. And while most people know about his teachings on human souls, fewer know about his profound revelations concerning animals, particularly dogs. What Casey revealed will transform how you see your dog, how you understand your bond, how you process grief when they die, and how you recognize the signs that they're still with you. Today, you're going to learn the hidden truth about dogs after death. You're going to discover that your dog has a soul, that consciousness survives the death of the body, that reincarnation is real for animals just as it is for humans. You're going to understand why certain dogs come into your life at exactly the right moment, why the bond feels deeper than simple pet ownership, why grief can be so overwhelming when they die. And you're going to learn how to recognize when your deceased dog is trying to contact you. Because they do. They reach across the veil. They send signs. They let you know they're okay and that the love between you is eternal. By the end of this video, you will never look at your dog the same way again. You will understand that the being looking at you with those loving eyes is not just an animal, but a soul, a conscious entity on its own evolutionary journey, a spiritual companion who chose you specifically for reasons that go far deeper than you ever imagined. So let me ask you, have you ever felt that your connection with your dog was somehow more than it should be? Have you lost a dog and felt their presence after death? Have you wondered if you'll ever see them again? Because for the next 40 minutes, I'm going to answer those questions with teachings that will comfort your heart and expand your understanding of what animals truly are. Let's begin with the most fundamental truth. Your dog has a soul. The spiritual nature of dogs, divine beings in physical form. According to Edgar Cayce, everything that exists is a manifestation of the divine, not just humans, not just enlightened masters or angels or spiritual beings. Everything, every living creature, every form of consciousness, all of it is divine energy that has pushed itself into physical form for the purpose of experiencing, learning, and evolving. This means your dog is not a biological machine, not a creature operating purely on instinct without consciousness or soul. Your dog is a spiritual being, an expression of divine consciousness wearing a physical body temporarily, just as you are. But here's where it gets profound. Casey taught that in many ways, animals are closer to divine harmony than humans are, because they lack one thing that humans possess: the capacity for willful rebellion against divine law. Let me explain. Humans have free will, complete, absolute free will. We can choose to act in harmony with love, compassion, and truth. Or we can choose to act against these principles. We can choose selfishness, cruelty, deception. We have the godlike power to choose, and that choice can take us toward or away from our divine nature. Animals, including dogs, don't have free will in this same way. They have personality. They have preferences. They have individual consciousness. But they don't have the capacity to willfully sin, to deliberately act against divine law. They exist in a state of innocence. A dog doesn't lie. A dog doesn't pretend to be something it's not. A dog doesn't manipulate or deceive. A dog lives in absolute authenticity, in perfect alignment with its true nature. This is why spending time with dogs feels healing. Why their presence brings peace. Why looking into a dog's eyes can feel like touching something pure and holy. Because you're in the presence of a being that exists in divine harmony in a way that most humans have forgotten how to do. Casey taught that dogs operate through what he called group consciousness or group spirit. This doesn't mean they lack individuality. Anyone who's loved multiple dogs knows that each one has a distinct personality, distinct preferences, distinct ways of being. What it means is that dogs, unlike humans, don't develop ego in the way we do. They don't create elaborate false selves to hide their true nature. They don't construct masks and personas. They simply are what they are, authentically, completely, without pretense. This is why your dog loves you unconditionally. Not because they're programmed to, or because you feed them, but because they exist in a state of consciousness where love flows naturally, without the barriers of ego, judgment, or condition that humans constantly construct. Your dog looks at you and sees your soul, not your job title, not your bank account, not your successes or failures, your essence. And they love that essence completely, because that's what beings in divine harmony do. They love. One of Casey's most beautiful teachings about animals was this: that which is pure, that which is without guile, that which is of the divine. This is what you see when you look into the eyes of your companion animal. They are, in many ways, closer to God than most humans, for they have not fallen into the illusion of separation. This is the first truth you need to understand. Your dog is not less than human. Your dog is a divine soul, expressing consciousness in a different form, often with purer alignment to divine love than most humans achieve. And if your dog is a soul, then what happens to souls after death applies to your dog just as it applies to you. The journey continues. What happens when dogs die? When your dog's body stops functioning, when their heart beats for the last time, when they take their final breath in your arms or alone in the night, what happens to them? According to Edgar Casey, exactly what happens to human souls. The consciousness separates from the physical form and continues. Death is not an ending, it's a transition. It's, as Casey beautifully put it, simply walking through God's other door. Your dog's essence, their personality, their love for you, none of this ceases to exist. The body was temporary, a vehicle, a form that allowed consciousness to interact with the physical world. But the consciousness itself, the soul, this is eternal. In the moments after death, according to Casey's teachings, animal souls experience something similar to what human souls experience, but with some beautiful differences. First, there's no confusion. Human souls often struggle after death because our egos resist the transition. We cling to physical identity, to earthly attachments, to the life we're leaving. We fight the process. Dogs don't do this. They release naturally. They accept the transition with the same grace they accept everything in life. There's no resistance, no fear, no desperate clinging to what's ending. This is why people who are present when their dogs die often report a sense of peace in the final moments. Even after struggle or pain, there's often a moment of calm, of release, of what looks like gentle acceptance. The dog is simply moving from one state of being to another, without the human fear of death making it traumatic. Second, dogs are immediately met by those who love them. Just as human souls are greeted by deceased loved ones, animal souls are received by the souls of other animals they've known and loved, by humans they've bonded with who died before them, and by what Casey called guardian spirits, specifically assigned to guide animal souls. Imagine your dog's experience. One moment they're in a failing body, perhaps in pain, perhaps exhausted. The next moment they're free of that body, vital and whole again. And there, waiting for them, is every human and animal they've ever loved who died before them. Your dog, who died last year, is greeted by the dog who died 5 years before, by the cat they grew up with, by the human grandmother who used to sneak them treats, by souls they loved in previous incarnations that you don't even know about. They are welcomed home, comforted, helped to understand the transition. And then something else happens. They turn back toward you. Because according to Casey, the bond of love between a human and their dog doesn't break at death. If anything, it becomes stronger. Your dog, now free from physical limitations, can be with you in ways they never could while alive. They can sense when you're grieving. They can be present when you're crying over their absence. They can walk beside you even though you can't see them. They can rest on your bed even though you can't feel the weight. They can try, in dozens of ways, to let you know, I'm okay. I'm still here. I still love you. Many people report that in the first days and weeks after their dog dies, they feel their presence more strongly than they would have expected. They hear the click of nails on the floor. They feel a weight on the bed. They catch a glimpse of movement in their peripheral vision. You're not imagining it. According to Casey, your dog is visiting. They're trying to comfort you. They're trying to ease your grief by letting you know death didn't end what exists between you. But there's more. Because for dogs, as for all souls, death is not a permanent destination. It's a transition point, a place of rest, learning, and preparation. And then, eventually, comes the decision to return. Reincarnation. Your dog has been here before and will come again. One of Edgar Cayce's most profound and least understood teachings is this: dogs reincarnate. Just as human souls return to physical form again and again, learning lessons, evolving consciousness, working through karma, animal souls do the same. Your dog has lived before, in other bodies, in other times, perhaps even in other species. Casey gave a stunning example in one of his readings. A woman asked about her small, gentle dog named Mona. She wanted to know if they had known each other in a past life. Casey's reading revealed that Mona had indeed been with this woman before, but not as a dog. In a past life in ancient Rome, Mona had been a fierce lioness who fought in the Colosseum. And the woman had been a spectator who, moved by compassion, had intervened to save the lioness from certain death. The bond formed in that moment carried across centuries and across species. The lioness's soul chose to return as a gentle companion dog to be with the woman who had shown her mercy. The form changed, but the connection remained. This is what Casey taught about animal reincarnation. The form is flexible. A soul might be a dog in one life, a cat in another, perhaps even a horse or a bird. The species isn't fixed. What's fixed is the essence, the consciousness, the lessons being learned. But here's what's beautiful. Dogs tend to return as dogs. Not always, but often. Because they're learning dog-specific lessons. They're mastering dog consciousness. They're evolving within that particular expression of divine manifestation. And they tend to return to the same humans. Casey taught that souls, human and animal, travel in groups. These are sometimes called soul families or soul clusters. The same souls incarnate together repeatedly, playing different roles for each other's evolution, learning together, supporting each other's growth. Your dog is part of your soul group. You've been together before, in past lives, and you'll be together again in future lives. The connection between you isn't random. It's ancient. It's deliberate. It's a sacred contract between souls who've agreed to journey together. This is why sometimes, when you meet a dog, there's instant recognition, instant bonding, a sense that you know this being even though you've just met. You do know them. Your soul remembers them from previous incarnations. And this is why, after your dog dies, you might find yourself drawn to another dog who reminds you of them, who has similar mannerisms, similar ways of looking at you, similar personality traits. That's not your imagination projecting the old dog onto the new one. According to Casey, that might actually be the same soul, returned in a new body, finding you again because the contract between you isn't complete. Because you still have lessons to learn together. Because the love is so strong that the soul chooses to return to you specifically. I learned about a case from someone who studied Casey's work extensively. A woman had a German shepherd named Max who died at age 12. She was devastated. She swore she'd never get another dog because no dog could replace Max. But 6 months after Max died, she was at a rescue shelter, not planning to adopt, just volunteering. A young German shepherd puppy was brought in. The moment their eyes met, the woman felt something she couldn't explain. Recognition. Knowing. This puppy looked at her the way Max used to look at her. Against all her intentions, she adopted the puppy, named him something different, tried to treat him as a completely new dog. But the similarities were undeniable. Not just breed characteristics, but specific quirks. The way he'd rest his head on her lap when she was sad, the way he'd sneeze when he was excited. Little things that were uniquely Max. The woman came to believe, and Edgar Cayce's teachings support this belief, that Max had returned, that his soul had chosen to reincarnate quickly and to find her again because their work together wasn't finished. Because he still had lessons to teach her. Because the bond between them was too strong to be satisfied with just one lifetime. This is the hidden truth about dog reincarnation. Your current dog may have been with you before in another body. And when they die, they may return to you again. Not always immediately. Sometimes souls need rest between incarnations. Sometimes they choose to be with other members of their soul group for a lifetime before returning to you. But the connection persists. The love remains. And across lifetimes, across different bodies, across decades or even centuries, souls who love each other find each other again. Why your dog chose you, the sacred contract. Now, we need to understand something that will change how you see every interaction with your dog. They chose you, deliberately, consciously, before either of you were born. According to Edgar Cayce, souls make contracts before incarnating. These are agreements about who they'll meet, what relationships they'll have, what lessons they'll learn together. These contracts are made at the soul level, with full awareness of the purpose they serve. Your dog's soul made a contract with your soul. An agreement that says, in this lifetime, I will incarnate as a dog. I will find you at this specific time. I will be your companion. And through our relationship, we will both learn what we need to learn. We will both evolve. You didn't find your dog randomly. The universe orchestrated your meeting. The shelter worker who told you about that particular dog. The friend who mentioned a litter of puppies. The random walk where you happened to see a stray. None of it was random. It was the soul contract manifesting. It was destiny unfolding. And the lessons you're meant to learn from your dog are specific to you. Your dog didn't come into your life to teach anyone else what they're teaching you. They came specifically for you because you needed exactly what they offer. What do dogs teach? Casey said they teach us lessons that most humans desperately need but struggle to learn. Unconditional love. Your dog doesn't love you because you're successful or attractive or wealthy. They love you because you exist. They love your essence without condition, without judgment. And experiencing that kind of love, receiving it consistently, teaches you what love actually is, what it feels like, what it looks like in action, living in the present moment. Dogs don't worry about the future. They don't ruminate about the past. They exist fully in now. When they're with you, they're completely with you, not distracted, not thinking about something else, just present. And being with a being that present pulls you into presence too. Loyalty and faithfulness. Your dog doesn't abandon you when times are hard. They don't leave you when you're sick or difficult or going through crisis. They stay. Faithfully, consistently, teaching you what real commitment looks like. Joy in simple things. A walk, a treat, your arrival home. These simple events create profound joy in your dog. They haven't lost the ability to be delighted by life's small pleasures. And watching them experience this joy reminds you that happiness doesn't require grand achievements or perfect circumstances. It's available in the simple present moment. Authentic expression. Your dog doesn't hide their emotions. When they're happy, they show it. When they're scared, you know it. When they love you, it's written all over them. They model emotional honesty in a world where most humans are taught to hide what they really feel. These lessons are why your dog came into your life. These are the gifts they incarnated to give you. And if you pay attention, if you really see what they're teaching you, your dog can transform not just your daily life, but your soul's evolution. One of Casey's readings described a man who had closed his heart after betrayal and loss. He became cold, isolated, unable to trust or love. And then a stray dog appeared at his door. Against his better judgment, he let the dog in, fed it, let it stay. Over time, that dog's unconditional love, its persistent affection, despite the man's coldness, began to thaw his frozen heart. The dog's loyalty taught him that trust was possible. The dog's joy taught him that life could still be beautiful. The dog's presence taught him that he was worthy of love, even when he couldn't love himself. Years later, when the dog died, the man wept for the first time in decades. But they were tears of gratitude, not just grief. Because he understood that this dog had saved his life, had saved his soul, had been sent specifically to him to teach him how to love again. This is the sacred contract. Your dog came into your life to teach you something essential. something you needed for your soul's evolution. And you came into your dog's life for the same reason. You're teaching them too, providing experiences they need, loving them in ways that help their consciousness evolve. It's not a one-way relationship. It's a mutual agreement between souls to help each other grow. Recognizing the signs, how dogs communicate after death. When your dog dies, the physical presence ends, but the connection doesn't. And according to Edgar Cayce, dogs are remarkably good at communicating from the other side, often better than human souls. Why? Because dogs don't have the same ego barriers that humans have. Human spirits sometimes struggle to communicate because they're working through their own confusion, their own attachments, their own unfinished business. But dogs, they're clear, they're pure. They know what they want to communicate and they do it directly. What do they want you to know? Simple things, profound things. I'm okay, I'm not suffering, I'm free and whole again. I'm still with you. Death didn't end our bond. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for the life we shared. Don't grieve so hard that you can't feel my presence. I'm here. How do they communicate these messages? Through specific signs that appear with such consistency that they can't be dismissed as coincidence. Sign 1. Physical sensations. The most common sign is feeling their physical presence. You're sitting on the couch where they used to lie beside you, and suddenly you feel warmth against your leg. The exact warmth of their body. You're lying in bed and you feel weight at your feet. The exact weight of your dog curled up on their favorite spot. You reach down in that half-asleep state to pet them, and for a moment you swear you feel their fur, soft, familiar, real. These aren't hallucinations. According to Casey, these are your dog's consciousness creating sensory experiences to let you know they're there. They can't manifest a physical body anymore, but they can create the energetic impression of physical presence. And they do this to comfort you. Sign 2. Sounds. You hear the click of nails on the hardwood floor, that distinctive sound your dog made walking through the house. You hear a bark or a whine, faint but unmistakable. You hear the jingle of their collar tags. You look, but there's nothing there. No physical source for the sound. But you heard it, clearly, distinctly. Casey taught that sound is vibration, and consciousness can create vibration. Your dog's spirit is manipulating energy to create familiar sounds, announcing their presence in the language you'll recognize. Sign 3. Other animals. Reacting. If you have other pets, watch them. Dogs and cats are more sensitive to spiritual presence than humans are. They can see and sense things we can't. Your other dog suddenly stares intently at empty space, tail wagging, as if greeting someone invisible. Your cat watches something move across the room that you can't see. Animals in your home start behaving the way they did when your deceased dog was alive. They're reacting to your dog's presence. They can perceive what you can't, and their behavior is confirmation that your dog is visiting. Sign 4. Dreams. Dreams are one of the clearest communication channels because your rational mind is quiet during sleep. Your deceased dog appears in your dreams, and the dream feels different from normal dreams. More vivid, more real. You wake up and the memory doesn't fade the way dream memories usually do. In these visitation dreams, your dog appears healthy and whole. Not sick or old the way they were at death, but vital and strong. They're showing you their true state now, free from the failing body, consciousness intact, still themselves, just in a different form. Often in these dreams, your dog communicates directly, not with words necessarily, but with feelings, with knowing. You wake up with absolute certainty. They're okay, they're at peace. They still love you. Casey emphasized that these dreams are real communication. Your dog's consciousness is meeting yours in the dream dimension where connection is easier than in the waking physical world. Sign 5. Synchronicities. You start seeing their breed everywhere. Every time you leave the house, you encounter that specific type of dog. You hear their name in conversations, on TV, in random places with unusual frequency. You find feathers or coins or other symbols in places where your dog used to spend time. These synchronicities are orchestrated. Your dog's consciousness is working with the universe to create meaningful coincidences that remind you of them, that let you know they're still present and aware of your life. Sign 6. Electronics. Remember how we discussed that consciousness can affect electrical fields. Your deceased dog might turn lights on or off, make electronic devices behave strangely, create static or interference. This is their way of announcing presence using the energy available in your modern home. One person reported that every time she cried about her deceased dog, her smoke alarm would chirp once. Just once. As if to say, I hear you, I'm here. It happened so consistently, so specifically when she was grieving, that she came to understand it was her dog's way of comforting her. If you're experiencing these signs, don't dismiss them. Don't rationalize them away. Trust your experience. Your dog is reaching out. They're trying to comfort you. They're trying to let you know that death didn't end what exists between you. Acknowledge the signs. Speak to your dog out loud. Say, I feel you. I know you're here. Thank you for letting me know you're okay. This acknowledgement strengthens the connection. It lets your dog know their efforts are received. The grief is sacred. Why it hurts so much. We need to address something that people who've never deeply loved a dog don't understand. The grief when a dog dies can be absolutely devastating, as profound as losing a human family member. Sometimes more so because the relationship with a dog is often simpler, purer, less complicated than human relationships. And society often doesn't validate this grief. People say things like, it was just a dog, or you can get another one, or I don't understand why you're so upset. These comments, however well-intentioned, cause additional pain. They make you feel like your grief is excessive, inappropriate, embarrassing. But according to Edgar Cayce's teachings, your grief is sacred. It's appropriate. It's the natural response of a soul recognizing the departure of another soul that you've loved across multiple lifetimes. You're not just grieving the loss of a pet. You're grieving the loss of a spiritual companion, a soul that chose you, a being that loved you unconditionally, a teacher that helped you evolve, a presence that made your life better in countless ways. Of course it hurts. Of course you feel devastated. Of course you cry. You're supposed to. This grief honors the relationship. It honors the love. It honors the sacred contract you shared. Casey taught that the depth of grief corresponds to the depth of love. If you loved deeply, you will grieve deeply. This isn't weakness. This is evidence of your capacity for real connection, for genuine love, for soul-level bonding. Don't rush the grief. Don't let others pressure you to get over it or move on before you're ready. Take the time you need. Cry when you need to cry. Talk about your dog when you need to talk about them. Look at pictures. Share stories. Honor the relationship publicly and privately. And know this: your dog doesn't want you to suffer indefinitely. They don't want your grief to consume your life, but they do want to be remembered. They want the love to be honored. They want you to acknowledge that what you shared was real, profound, and meaningful. One of the most healing practices Casey recommended is to consciously thank your dog for what they gave you. Write a letter to them. Say out loud all the ways they enriched your life. Tell them what they taught you. Express gratitude for the time you had together, however long or short it was. This transforms grief from pure pain into sacred remembrance. It shifts from "I lost them" to "I was blessed to have them." Both are true. Both can coexist. But the gratitude makes the grief bearable. And remember, according to everything Casey taught, this separation is temporary. You will see your dog again, either in this life, when their soul returns in a new body and finds you, or after your own death, when you cross to the other side and they're there waiting. The love is eternal. The bond is unbreakable. Death is just a pause, not an ending. Will you see them again? The promise of reunion. The question everyone who's loved and lost a dog asks, will I see them again? According to Edgar Cayce, the answer is absolutely yes. Not maybe. Not if you're good enough. Not if you believe the right things. Yes, unequivocally. Certainly. When you die and cross into the spiritual dimension, the souls you've loved who died before you will be there. All of them. Your human family and friends. And your dogs. Every dog you've ever loved, every soul that was part of your journey, they'll recognize you instantly. You'll recognize them, and there will be reunion, celebration, joy. The love you shared during physical life continues and deepens in the spiritual dimension. But even more than that, Casey taught that the souls who love each other will choose to incarnate together again. If your current dog's soul has more lives to live in physical form, there's a strong possibility they'll find you again in a future life. Perhaps not immediately. Perhaps with time for rest and learning in between. But the contract between you doesn't end with one lifetime. You might be 70 years old and a new puppy comes into your life. And something about them feels familiar. Something in their eyes, the way they look at you, the instant bonding. That might be a soul you loved before, return to be with you again, to continue the journey you've been on together for who knows how many lifetimes. This is the promise. Love is eternal. Souls who love each other remain connected across all boundaries, all dimensions, all states of being. Death is just a change in form, not a severing of connection. Your dog's consciousness exists right now. If they've already died, they're in the spiritual dimension, either resting, learning, preparing for the next incarnation, or actively present in your life in ways you might not perceive. If they're still alive, treasure every moment, because the physical time together is limited, but the soul connection is forever. One of the most beautiful readings Casey gave was for a woman grieving her dog deeply. He said, "The love between souls transcends all temporary separations. Your beloved companion is not lost. They are simply ahead of you on the path that you both walk. And when your own journey in this physical form is complete, they will be among the first to greet you, to welcome you home, to remind you that love never dies." Conclusion 37, 40. We've journeyed through Edgar Cayce's profound teachings about dogs and death. And what we've discovered transforms everything. Your dog is not a pet. They're a soul, a divine being expressing consciousness in physical form. A spiritual companion who chose you before either of you were born. The bond you share is not random. It's a sacred contract, an agreement between souls to journey together, to teach each other, to love each other, to help each other evolve. When your dog dies, they don't cease to exist. Their consciousness continues in the spiritual dimension. They're free from the limitations of the physical body, but they're still themselves, still aware, still loving you. They try to let you know this through physical sensations, sounds, dreams, synchronicities. They send signs with a purity and directness that human spirits often can't match because they exist in a state of innocence, without the ego barriers that complicate human communication. The grief you feel when your dog dies is sacred. It's appropriate. It honors the depth of love you shared. Don't let anyone diminish it. Don't let anyone tell you it's excessive. You're grieving a soul, a companion, a teacher. Your grief is valid and necessary. And the separation is temporary. You will see your dog again, either in this life, when their soul returns in a new body and finds you, or after your own death, when they're there waiting to greet you, whole and healthy and radiating the love they've always felt for you. This knowledge changes how you live with your dog right now. Every moment becomes more precious when you understand that your dog is a soul on a sacred mission. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for mutual evolution when you recognize the teaching relationship you share. Every gaze into their eyes becomes a moment of soul-to-soul communion when you see the divine consciousness looking back at you. If your dog is still alive, love them fully. Be present with them. Learn what they're teaching. Fulfill your part of the sacred contract. And when their time comes, release them with gratitude, not just grief. Celebrate the gift they've been in your life. If your dog has already died, know that they're okay. They're at peace. They're still with you in ways you might not perceive. Watch for the signs. Acknowledge their presence. Talk to them. Thank them. Keep the connection alive through your awareness and your continued love. And trust the promise. You will be together again. In this life or the next, in this dimension or another. The love is eternal. The bond is unbreakable. Death is just a doorway, not a wall. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the hidden truth about dogs after death. If this has brought you comfort, if it's helped you understand your relationship with your dog in a deeper way, share it. Because millions of people are loving dogs, losing dogs, and grieving dogs without understanding the sacred nature of what they're experiencing. Subscribe to continue exploring these profound mysteries of consciousness, death, and the eternal nature of love that transcends all boundaries. And remember, the being curled up at your feet or running through spiritual dimensions isn't just a dog. They're a soul. They chose you. They love you eternally. And that love will never die. See you in the next video.